This is not the video that I was going to make. This is the video that I was going to make. I've got all my notes here. It was going to be about, it's a new year. How was 2023? For most of us in real estate photography, it was a down year as the interest rates had started rising in 2022, which carried over to 2023. This was the first complete year that we'd had with bigger interest rates, which means the whole real estate industry slowed down for 2023 versus a few years before it. But there's something that's more pressing that's happening right now in the real estate industry. And I decided that I had to make a video about that. Even though I had all my notes down here about how to be successful in 2024 doing this, that's still the video I'm making right now. However, it's a roundabout way that I'm getting there. And I ask that you just bear with me because it's worth the journey to the end here. I am going to give you actionable items, an actionable item at least, on how to be successful in 2024, much more so than your 2023 business. But it's only on the other side of this hot take. And it's going to sound like I'm calling some people out here. Maybe I am, but it really just has to be said. So here we go. This was the house that I was supposed to shoot today. And as you can tell, that's probably not going to happen now. Okay, so why is that problematic? Why am I taking a look at a rainstorm and saying, oh, well, the real estate photography industry is in trouble because it's raining out? Well, that's not exactly why I'm saying that the real estate photography industry is in trouble, but that particular house, that one that I was just at, is a pretty good example of, that's a home that I have been to. I think that was my second time. The first time, there was a truck in the driveway and there was a bunch of junk outside. And so I wasn't going to shoot it then. This time, there's no truck in the driveway anymore, and the junk is mostly cleaned up to the point where I could clone it out anyway, but now it's raining. And so I'm going to come back a third time to shoot that house, and probably even a fourth time, because I know that the agent wants to get it on the market right away. However, there is a problem with the accessory dwelling unit in the back, the granny unit, if you will, that it's still occupied. There are two things that you can do in this situation. You can either dig in your heels and say, you know what, this is my expertise, and I'm a busy guy, and it takes me X amount of money and fuel to get out here. So, I drive a heavy-duty pickup truck, right? It's not necessarily the most economical of vehicles to be driving around for this. It takes me a lot of money and fuel. It takes my time. It's time that I could be working, shooting for somebody else, and all that. And so you owe me X amount of money. And there are plenty of photographers in our industry that do that, not only on a case-by-case basis, but they have cancellation policies. They have deposits that they take and withhold. So if you do cancel, they keep the deposit and such. Or you can do what I do. This client is a great client. She is a friend. She is one of the clients that started my real estate photography career 5 or 6 years ago. She was one of the first ones to hire me. And she's been hiring me, and my images, just like most of ours, when I was starting out, are nowhere near as good as they are now, right? Because we all learn, we grow, our work gets better over time. But she's always been there with me. She's always been there with me, hiring me. She has, we've always accommodated each other. She has accommodated my pricing increases over the years, and she's still stoked when she gets the work back. And so if that means I have to go out there another 2 times, man, it's really coming down. That means I have to go out there another 2 times, 3 times, whatever. I'm going to do that because the $100 maybe that I lost a couple $100, however you categorize whatever your time and fuel and whatever's worth, is not worth the friendship that we've cultivated, and it is certainly not worth the thousands and thousands of dollars that I have received from her, working for her over that time. So let me get into why this is problematic for the industry. I think you already know, but I'm going to get out of this rain and we'll talk about it some more. Obviously, what we're talking about here goes beyond just one house, one rainy day. Certainly, I can't control the weather, and neither can my client, but the overarching theme there is that I was willing to go above and beyond for my client. Now, as this dovetails into what I believe is a just true problem happening with the real estate photography industry right now, this really started out a few years ago. And in 2019 was the first year that it was then the PMRE conference, which later became the PFRE. I have that backwards. PFRE conference then became the PMRE conference, was held in Las Vegas. Now, at the time, you had a lot of the old salts in the industry. Okay, these are the people like Rich Baum, like Nathan Kuhl, like Scott Hargis and Mike Kelly and all these guys that really founded this business that we find ourselves in. It's not that old. This is only about a decade or so old. This whole industry is, and it was a really good time. It was a little bit floundering at first, that first year. But here's what I took away, not just from that first year, but when I returned to the now PMRE conference, it was a couple years later, what I found that it was all of a sudden inundated with younger people getting into this business. And that's obviously not a bad thing, because that's the way that industries go. The old people get old and retire, and the young people are coming in, they're doing new things and breathing fresh life into it, and all that's great. But I found, though, that as a lot of these newer people got into the industry, there was a real focus shift between folks who used to be in the industry who were creative people first, I would say, but from very professional backgrounds, which gave them a sense of business and customer service acumen that the younger folks just don't have. They haven't had the wealth of professional experience that these older folks have had to draw upon when they get into this business. And so what happened was this started bleeding as our industry is growing and as these young folks are coming in. That started bleeding over into social media, specifically Facebook groups. And when I first found some of these real estate photography Facebook groups, I thought they were great because they really are useful when you're talking about seeing how people are doing things different than you and what they're charging and so forth. But an overarching theme that I started seeing in these groups was that these young folks are business-minded people first. They're not necessarily creative-minded people first, nor are they customer relation-minded people first. And this is a real problem in our line of work because more so than any other type of business I can think of, real estate photography, everything about real estate sales is an extraordinarily personal business. This is a group of people that you're trying to break into. When you start serving people well, your reputation precedes you and your phone rings. My phone rings. I haven't marketed for years and years and years, but my business grows every year because my phone rings and I've done well for the clients that I have. So I started seeing these people in these groups that were very, very profit-minded people. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're all in business to make money, but it was coming at the expense of their clients. It was coming at the expense of them keeping their clients happy. So another really interesting thing happened with the Facebook groups too, other than the just profit first type of mentality of a lot of these shooters that are within it. I had a property that I shot, wasn't this one that we've been talking about, it was one of a couple few before that I shot where it was just a disaster. And we've all been there, and you sometimes just have to make do with what you've got in front of you. It was a bad situation, an ugly breakup. There was a couple kids in a toxic environment. It was just bad. And one of the things that the agent, who, bless her heart, she was trying her best just to clean this place up. She was actually there for a couple days before I showed up to shoot it, just trying to get all the debris out and everything. And one of the things that she had to move was the dude's stash. Is a baggie of weed and a pipe, and she took it out and put it on a trash can that was on the side yard. So in these Facebook groups, a lot of times when we're out there shooting stuff, we'll take a picture of the different things that we see. Hey, has anybody ever had this happen to them? And so I did. I took a picture of it and I posted it onto a Facebook group. And I was frustrated at the time. And so I said, look, this real winner here is just, the agent has to move his bag of weed out of the way. Nice going, Cheech, and I basically said that to the group, and oh my word, the triggering that happened amongst the pot smoking. Apparently there are a lot of photographers who indulge, because just the backlash from me calling the guy a Cheech, because let alone all the other stuff with the house. And in fairness, the people who were replying to me, smashing their keyboards, replying to me, didn't know all that about the situation there. But there were such immature points of view happening in that thread. There were people calling me big boomer energy, which was kind of funny, actually. I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer, for those of you who care. But, big boomer energy must be like, the wacky tobacco's like death to all or whatever it is, right? So there was big boomer energy. There was ignorant. I saw that one. And it goes on and on, right? Now, it wasn't all negative. I mean, there were people who were people like me who are a client-first type of operation who were defending me. It's like, hey, you guys, come on. In what world is this acceptable when a photographer shows up to be having stuff like this around? It's not necessarily that it was a bag of weed. It's really anything that is going to be extraordinarily divisive to buyers. And I think a lot of the people who are calling me out on that, they don't have that point of view. They have the point of view where it's like, oh, well, it's acceptable. Everybody does it. And so what's the big deal? It's like, that's not what we're doing here. We are aligned with our client to showcase this property in its best light possible. So all of the whips, chains, bongs, dildos, Confederate flags, pentagrams, all of that stuff needs to be clear. And if it's not clear, I might take a picture of it and make fun of it online. I might just do that. Because who else was frustrated with the situation? My client was. The agent who was there for 2 days cleaning and still had to clean that kind of stuff out of the way. So I'm getting carried away here. I did have support in that thread as well. In fact, I had a couple people that would DM me and say, whoa, what's going on with all these folks, And it turned into kind of an inadvertent litmus test as to where people's heads are at. So I'm coming together here on this, right? I'm wrapping it up. So what exactly does this mean? So I decided not to do that video because the video was going to be, here are some solid things that you can do to make 2024 better than 2023. But these were all technical things. You can do this, you can do that differently. You can raise your prices, okay. Let's put all that away, because what we have right now is, over the past few years, a real estate photography industry that the people within it that drive that engine, that demographic is changing. And it's changing, I don't think, in a positive way. And I know that sounds very boomery too, right? It's all these kids. but it's true. It's changing not in a positive way, in that these are not client-first people who are coming into this business. These are people who, a lot of them have never done their own editing because they've always just farmed it out to overseas editors, and it's a cost thing to them. That's a whole nother topic that I probably will make a video on. There are people who charge non-refundable appointment fees, cancellation fees for if, like, the truck's in the driveway kind of thing. And there are people who are not generous with their time. And that's something that I have been on about for quite a while. Part of the success of my business is that I am generous with my time. And people confuse that, though. They confuse that with me trading on price. They say, well, if you're spending so much time, you're not making as much money for what you're charging, so you should be making more money. It's like, look, I make plenty of money, okay? I don't compete on price. I compete on value. And I'm not cheap. But I'm generous with my time. I'm generous with my time in the time that it takes that I don't bill for. I get to know my clients. I really get to know them. I get to know them. I befriend them. I try to imagine myself as them. How are they going to gain market share in this market around them? What makes them unique in this market around them? If there are things I can identify that would resonate with home buyers and with home sellers, I try to accentuate that in the marketing. Now, none of this is rocket surgery, right? But this is the kind of level that the folks who are out there shooting real estate, 5, 6, 7 houses a day, and then sending it to some dark hole in Asia to chew the edits. This is the stuff they don't do. And in a down market, when people are heading for the hills, and people are looking to go to the next cheapest option because you all of a sudden have become too expensive for them because they don't have as much business coming in as they used to, they're going to be going to the cheap option because it's competing on price. That's the distinction. Don't compete on price, compete on value. Be generous with your time in 2024. Really get to know your clients, befriend them. My clients are my friends. And your business will continue to grow. And it'll be a great year. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I know this is a bit of a hot take, and that's okay. And I know that I'll probably get called boomer at least once in the comments, but let me know anyway. And I'll see you soon. Peace.